Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with all these nerds.
Nate the Nerdarch.
Ted.
Ericus Ryan.
In a world where you had adventuring parties, these skills, none of them should be without.
Jump down the description below and you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So speaking of jumping, we're going to talk about our best picks for the skills and the things that no dungeon delver should be without. My pick is perception.
Well, so why do you feel that perception is the must-have?
I think perception is the must-have because it's knowing when other people are going to try to ambush you, to do you in. Noticing just other threats, and also perhaps finding at a tertiary glance clues to do things. Now, investigation might be when you're looking at things more harshly, but to notice just like a slight thing out of place, perception might be the way to go as far as at a glance.
Okay. Now, the funny thing about perception is, I remember my son just recently started gaming within the past, I guess, year or so. Mm-hmm. No, actually, oh God, it's probably been like 2 years now. I'm way off. He's been gaming for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Where is the time gone? I missed it.
He took a little bit of a break when we started Nerdarchy because it's like, I don't want to be in the videos, and then it's like, no, I want to do this.
But the pull was too strong. But what he learned from playing Mutants and Masterminds, which was another D20 system that uses a similar skill system, was he never wanted to have a character that didn't have perception again, because the character could not spot things.
It optimizes your ability to participate in things and to find things that are of threat or peril. Like noticing traps is also very, very. Your ability to just notice things that are threats is very helpful.
Now, perception did get nerfed a little bit in 5th edition compared to previous editions of D&D, like 4th and 3rd.
Part of what happens in perception in the past is now incorporated in investigate. So like there's things that's like, okay, well, you have to actually make an investigation check to find these other things, because you're not just spotting it, you have to actually go look for it.
Well, I'm not even speaking to that. I'm talking about many of the monsters in your monster manual have features that now totally negate perception. Mm-hmm. It's not even relevant. There is no check to make.
Oh yeah, like the gargoyle is fantastic. Basically
gargoyle, mimic,
the out and out ambush monster with false appearance. Like, no, it's great because every once in a while you do want to be able to successfully pull off an ambush encounter to your players. But the problem is your high perception characters or your characters with the alertness feat or observant feat, you're never going to be able to do that. So just having monsters that say, yeah, I don't care what the rules are, this ambush just happens because this is the nature of the monster.
Because this is my rules.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, too, is it the observant or is it the alertness? One of them, like, you're never surprised if you have
alertness.
That feat. The alertness. So that you still get to act in the surprise round, whereas the rest of your party is not going to have that be the case.
So I would actually be, leaning towards survival. Not only is it your ability to find food while you guys are adventuring, it also is your ability to track and know what's going on. It's like, oh, well, I can have an idea of what's going through here or what's ahead because I can see the footprints or I can see, the markings of what has been through here before.
Can't we just replace that with a cleric? Can't you produce like food and water and use divination? Be like,
oh, what if you're in an anti-magic zone?
Yeah. It does.
Well, there is that.
It does beg the question of like the type of game. If you have a game that very much reinforces the themes of survivalism and sort of resource management, survival is a pretty integral thing. If you kind of hand wave a lot of that stuff, it becomes less relevant. But like with Steve Lumpkin's West Marches game, he had the characters make checks to get lost, and then being lost had consequences of other encounters, and you're not getting back to civilization. And a lot of times it happened when they were low-level characters. So characters would die for attrition of resources. Like they would just get killed by monsters because they couldn't get back to civilization. Like they played a very points of light campaign, and getting lost really mattered. So like your Outlander was the superior choice, and survival is a major important skill.
I mean, if you actually look at the Middle Earth Player's Guide, you must have someone in your party that is proficient, if not an expert in survival, if you want to be successful, because it all hinges on whoever your guide is. And there's times I feel like that's actually really cool, and it's a mechanic that I would like to try and work in to standard 5th edition, because it's not like everyone is laden with maps and knows exactly where they're going. We're not talking about pulling out a GPS and like, all right, I got to walk 50 feet and turn left and then, go another 100 feet and turn right. No, you got to figure it out.
It would give an opportunity for those characters to shine more than they currently are, because it's a lot of things are just kind of assumed.
If you hand wave it, it doesn't matter.
It lends more credence and value to the barbarian, to the ranger, to the druid characters, and not just in their combat capabilities, but their ability to interact with the world and really focus on the exploration part of the game, even if you're not getting into the nitty-gritty, but at least you're acknowledging they're really good at doing this thing, and it adds an extra value to the party.
Now, I'm choosing a weird skill for me anyway, because I usually play spellcasters, but I like athletics. I also like acrobatics, but I'm choosing athletics because, there's sometimes where you just have to make a jump, or you just have to be able to climb something, or you're going to die, or something bad's going to happen. And I feel like
have a bad time.
I feel like athletics gives you a boost to just your general survivability as a character going through dungeons, going through traps, going through situations where you need that little extra oomph. It's not sparkly like perception, but I think it's a pretty good skill.
It is the only strength-based skill in the game.
That's true.
But you did say you usually play spellcasters and mages and stuff. Can you just cast a jump spell?
You have jump. I mean, there's sometimes spell allotment. There's only so many spells you're gonna have.
Spider, climb, fly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those get all around it, but sometimes
I think the other wizards, if you take athletics, the other wizards are going to be making fun of you.
You're like working out, and they're just like, look at that guy. He's lifting books other to read them.
Don't you got a spell for that?
Yeah. So
You must not be a very good caster.
you only get so many spells, second, third level spells to do something besides that you could just do with a rope and your own skill.
It kind of makes me think back to when I used to work as a personal trainer, and one of my coworkers had a client that was a Catholic priest, and that would always work out with a trainer, and the other priests used to give him a hard time because he spent so much time working on his physique and his body. So it makes me think of like the ridicule that he was getting from the other priests, but instead it's the wizard from the wizard colleges. They're all making fun of him because he's like a total bro.
You're like, you got a 6-pack.
So I went with Thieves' Tool. If you can spot something, that's great. But if you can't disarm the trap, you might be in for a bad day. And it's also kind of interesting in the sense where Thieves' Tools is one of those things that it could be a dex-based check or it could be intelligence, depending on what your GM calls for.
So one caveat, though. If you didn't make a good investigation check, you didn't find the mechanism to therefore disarm it. Like, that's the hard thing about rogue characters, is they really need the trifecta of perception, investigation, and Thieves' Tools, because they have to notice the trap, they have to deduce how it works, and then they have to disarm it. So that's problematic.
I do say that of the changes, I think 5th edition has actually made that aspect of the game more intense as opposed to whereas everything else is usually easier.
Well, along with that too, they also incorporated in the DMG in the trap section these cool mechanisms for disarming traps or getting by.
They've become way more descriptive of how you would have interacted with a trap before.
Right. Yeah, before it's like, tripwire, you cut it, or you see a loose flagstone and you walk around it, but like they kind of go into like pressure plates and how you would actually go about disabling the trap and things like that.
They peel away a little bit of the mechanisms without having the full on to actually make some sort of trap.
But your Thieves' Tools, not only would I say, like as a GM, I would allow a character to maybe use those if he needed to set a trap, or maybe if you wanted to have them sabotage something. That would be another use for it. And also, like, you're going to use it to get through your locked doors and things of that nature as well.
Absolutely.
And also, in this edition, it's not just the thieves that get to play with Thieves' Tools.
Right. Anyone who is a criminal.
Well, yeah, anyone who's a criminal. And I feel like
certain backgrounds would lend themselves to it, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some certain other areas, too.
A guild artisan, I think, because they could be a master traps maker. So that works.
Or a locksmith.
Yeah,
if you're a locksmith, you'd be familiar with that stuff as well.
Right. So what do you guys think? What do you feel is the most useful skill or the one that you shouldn't go dungeon delving without? Put your comments down below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can follow us over on Twitter.
You can hang out with us over on Facebook.
So check out our articles over at nerdreki.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.